I said the day I reacted to Eyes Like the Sky, the entire time I listened to it, that this guy would love it. I'm Walterooski. This is my dad, Walt, the original Walter on Twitch, if you were wondering. But this is something that I've been dying to listen to with him for a while, and when I asked if he would like to listen to it with me, he hit me with an enthusiastic, yeah, let's do it. So,
let's do it.
Let's do it. So,
yo, Walter, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. So, here's the thing. I've explained to you it's like spaghetti western. It's kind of an audiobook. So it's really going to be something kind of like what Grandpa might have listened to. Yeah, as he was growing up listening to the radio instead of watching TV. This is probably something like that. So in this context, and I'm actually the third Walter. I'm just the second, I'm currently the second alive.
He's the turd.
Yeah, I'm the third.
He got his... No, I won't say that either.
Fair enough. So... We're going to hop into this album. I'm going to introduce my father to Miguel O'Brien. Before I hit the play button on this thing, though, it's very important to me that you know that you are awesome, that you are valuable, that you are important, that you matter, that you are deserving of love, and that I am abundantly grateful for even a moment of your time. If you like what you see, feel free to hit the like and the subscribe button because it does go a long way to help me out. And if you really like what you see, leave a comment or join us on Twitch. These people over there are the best people. I stream every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Arizona time. We would love to have you by. And guys... Oh, by the way, this is coming out on Christmas Day. This is our Christmas Day release video. Cool. So if you happen to be watching this on Christmas Day, Merry Christmas to you. Or happy birthday to those that get left out on Christmas Day whose birthdays are Christmas Day. Like my mod, Scoodledump's mom. Scoodledump's mom, a moderator of the chat, her birthday is Christmas Day. Wow. So happy birthday to all Christmas Day birthdays.
I'll try not to get so excited and poop myself.
I would very much appreciate that.
Son, you got something on your shoes?
Did you step in shit? All right, guys, without further ado, let's introduce my dad to Eyes Like the Sky.
Oh, boy.
And this is so close to home.
The bad white man called him the devil. The Yavapai called him Eyes Like the Sky.
You see what I mean? And this is Ambrose's dad that's narrating.
Are they both?
No, I think they're recording gunshots. I actually think that's what they would have done. Is there a making of this? How are they making the gunshot sounds? Yeah, rest in peace, Ambi's dad. He passed away. You remember the song I sent you, Dud by Ambrose Kenny Smith? That was written about this guy. Father, Father, I bid you adieu. When I was like, hey, Dad, I love you. Listen to this song.
I'm thinking of a different song then. You did a reaction to it, or
Father,
ain't the one you...
Father, I'll see you soon. The man out of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the other one by When You Called Me at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that was James Blunt's
James Blunt,
Monsters.
yes,
Yeah,
Monsters.
two different songs
Yep,
that made
yep.
me cry and think of you. You can't die. They recorded the gunshots live in Cav's backyard. In the context they lay out.
So we're going back to the Yavapai.
Yeah.
This story takes place in the hinterlands of the newly formed United States and Territories in the years before and after the great conflagration called the Civil War. Men roam and fight each other simply to stay breathing. Muskets give way to repeating rifles. Cannons give way to Gatling guns. War nurtures weapons. Weapons clear the land.
Somebody fill in blame.
hatreds growing in new ones. Old beliefs are shattered by gunfire and charging horses. Under this cauldron of fire lies a young man who becomes a shattered legend. His name even takes on the mantle of the bogeyman in some homes. Among the first Americans, his name is exalted from wickiups to longhouses, from teepees to cliff dwellings.
We should go to Wickiup. There's nothing out there, but we should go.
For his silent walk and swift economical dispatching of his enemies.
Among the men of the Badlands, he's feared for his silent walk and swift economical dispatching of his enemies.
That's a word salad.
That's such a good one, too. That's got, like, no iceberg lettuce in it.
No, there's no iceberg. Or shit.
Or shit, yeah. So, the year of our Lord. Their second album. This is what they did. It's crazy how they mix psychedelia with spaghetti western music, though.
Chapter 1. They've been watching the farmhouse for a while, maybe all day. There were two of them, both young and fit and desert hardened. They were lords of where they lived, and they had no farm teaching from white men or Mexicans. Except for one thing. They hated the Mexicans more than the white men because of their cruelty. They'd learned cruelty from the Mexicans very well in return.
You hear that harmonica in the background? That's a big reason I've been trying so
like
hard.
an albino snake. The two young men watched and counted the white men down in the farmyard. A tall man and two shorter ones, maybe his sons. A woman would occasionally come out from the shack, get water from the well in the front yard.
You
Jim
think,
Morrison
like,
talking in the background?
Yeah.
You know, lying on stained, wretched sheets with a bleeding...
Yeah, no, and when I thought, again, I'd mentioned that I was talking about you introducing me to American Prayer a little while ago. I can't quite remember who it was, but this 100%, again, kind of reminded me.
Even the way that it's done, you know.
Yeah. And hearing that, and then with that spaghetti western twist to it, that's 100% in the vein of why I was like, yeah, Dad needs to hear this.
Carry it back inside. The small child would be with her. The men watching on the rim had no calendars, so they didn't know the date. 12th of June. Year of our Lord, 1854.
This hits some hard points, though. Like, it ain't a happy story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it was not a good time at all. They recorded Broderick's vocals on a MacBook and ran it through a guitar amp for the gravel. The sound. That crunch to his...
But one thing they did know, about an hour away with the rest of their part.
That thing, I think that's the whole bit. He's supposed to sound like John Wayne, you know?
I keep getting that.
You can kind of see him with the cigar in his mouth.
And a big old Stetson.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one thing they did know, about an hour away with the rest of their party. 8 men, all armed, running smoothly and trackless over the rocks. One of the watchers moved away to tell the main party of what they had seen. The raid was about to start.
This is where it starts getting heavy. And like it really provides you a sense of, yeah, you can tell that we're rolling in. it gives you that sense of like, oh man, something's coming.
A shootout at the OK Corral.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like Devil Went Down to Georgia there.
A little bit. I didn't connect that until you just said that. In Sweden, there's a giant Western LARP camp where live action role playing, where there's a whole town made to look like the Wild West with all personal attendees and dressed appropriately.
We're not after money.
We got old Tucson.
We do.
We're not after alcohol. They were after guns and young children to raise as their own. War made it necessary to take child captives. The rest would be slaughtered. That is how Miguel O'Brien became a Yavapai Apache warrior. He was 5 years old.
Huh? Yeah. So, the Yavapai attack a camp.
Took
their
raise them
kids
as their own, so they'd have warriors.
Yep. Because we're in the middle of, like, the Yavapai are getting wrecked by by people from Mexico and the colonists. In the middle of their own civil war.
I don't even know that there's so much in common. And that's where
Say that again?
I said, and that's where the Indians got screwed the most.
How so? You can talk a little louder.
Because the government went in and they tried seizing their land, and they've taken their land from them. And over the years, the Indians have become paupers because the government came in and took and wrecked their land.
Well, and you've driven through reservation territory here, right?
Yeah, I've been on the reservation. Me and Mom have.
We
went to the Navajo State Fair. We went to the Hopi Reservation.
A lot of the reservations locally are kind of beat up.
They're beat up, alcohol ridden, no jobs.
And it's super, I mean, it really is kind of sad. Not to say that this is like a specific to every single person there. Right. But, it's like, it can be tough.
And that's where humanity needs to come together and understand we're all here on this ball to get along and to share what's here.
Yeah, 100%. But this is 100% America did the dirty business.
Oh, yeah. The cowbell.
Yep. The ambience that they record is so spot on. Like, they make it sound like you're outside wind blowing.
Chapter 2. Miguel O'Brien ran with the Apaches. He ran and ran, and as his legs grew, he glided over the desert earth.
Yeah. A little bit. You could not make a movie like that nowadays, though.
No.
It's such a cool...
Very unique.
I don't know that any other band in the world today could do this. Unless this was their whole bit. Unless this was their whole shtick, they couldn't do it. Like, you can kind of see them running and hunting, and like in my brain, I don't know, I have like a montage of the kids, like of a white kid running around hunting.
He learned how to hide and to hunt. He learned to leave no tracks, and he learned how to live on what he could keep down. And his name was now Eyes Like the Sky.
You see where it comes from?
Fists in air.
Huh?
Stands with fists in air.
Yeah. Dances with wolves.
Yeah.
That was his name.
Yeah.
His blue eyes showed his father's race. He never wore the white painted face of a slave. He was valued for his stamina and distant vision.
15 years old.
That's scary. Troopers, plural?
Yeah, multiple. The tension.
Yeah, they're building it up.
So there's multiple things happening there to create the tension as well.
They got the war drums playing.
They've got those war drums. They've got this really fast clicking.
Yep.
You've got these discordant like piano-y things.
Blowing in the wind, kind of, wind chime kind of.
Yeah.
It is 1864 now, and the Americans' war has not come to the desert lands. They fight among themselves way off to the north. The Yavapai Apaches are still lords of all they survey. Then one morning the Americans did come, led by a man holding a leather book with a cross stamped in the leather.
This guy is a real schmelt.
Still back to Jim Morrison.
Yeah, back to Jim Morrison.
An evil man who did terrible things to people in the name of a god that looked upon the man himself with revulsion.
That is one of my favorite lines of this whole thing. An evil man who did terrible things to people in the name of a god that looked upon the man himself with repulsion.
That's pretty...
Is that not as apropos as it comes?
Yeah.
Like, how many times... Yeah, like a total tuna schmelt. Yeah. Like, how many times have just you and I amongst ourselves discussed, like, the evils of the church in the name of something good? Yeah. Like, so this concept... I just think that is such a powerful thing and it really, really points the idea at the evil man. Like, in the name of a god that looked upon the man himself with repulsion.
An evil man who did terrible things to people in the name of a god that looked upon the man himself with revulsion. Rifle butt sent him unconscious.
So they attacked the Yavapai, led by a dude with a
church.
Yep.
With a Bible.
The harmonica work. So good. Uh-huh. For sure. I think the long instrumentals also serve as kind of scene transitions from one part to the other.
In the old school movies, picture movies.
Yeah. Well, and when you're thinking about this, like, Miguel, or Eyes Like the Sky, gets hit in the back of the head and he's unconscious. You know what I mean? So, like, we're in this transitionary phase of him, what happens after he becomes unconscious.
When he came to, he was trussed up, on his back on the ground, looking up at the Americans. He had not been killed because they had noticed his blue eyes and knew he was one of them. So, at the age of 16, Miguel was back among his father's people. But once more, a family he loved had been killed. This time, by Americans.
He's experienced hell from both sides. The people that raised him killed his family. The people his family is from killed the family that took him in.
Second generation.
Yeah. Okay. All in a matter of like 11 years. That harmonica, though, is so good. Every time I hear it, I'm like, man, I want to be able to do that. Yeah.
And here we go.
It gets gets nuts. Giz has on a later album a song called The Evilest Man.
The Evilest?
Mm-hmm. The most evil? Yep, The Evilest Man. Alrighty.
No chapter 3?
It is chapter 3, but we're going to pause it so the ad can run. Gotcha. Because I don't want, I don't want people to miss out. So what do you think so far?
I like it. It's definitely unique. Definitely got characteristics of a lot of other.
So you mentioned you hear Jim Morrison in The American Prayer. Do you keep commenting that you feel like the narrator sounds like John Wayne?
John Wayne, yeah, definitely. I think that's wasn't intentional.
It very likely was.
I mean, if you think of a Western, if you're gonna have someone narrate a Western, who would you pick?
Yeah. I mean, it'd be the Duke.
The Duke. Yeah.
It would 100% be him.
Yeah.
I also think though that like they're really speaking into something that like is a brutal, disgusting part of human history.
Oh, our humanity.
Yeah, well, especially. I mean, we're talking about the grueling terror of war.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about stealing land that technically. Land rights, I, in my opinion, are kind of BS. Like, we all inhabit the same friggin' rock, you know? And, I don't know, at the end of the day, I feel like...
There's a justification in it.
Yeah, like, and this idea of this guy, you know, like the evil man, going in there with the cross on a Bible and allowing everybody to be murdered, and then just saving a person because of blue eyes. Like, at the end of the day...
You were spared because you had blue eyes.
Yeah, and white skin. Like, and that's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
They go in to kill an entire village,
yeah,
and they leave the one white guy with blue eyes. Yeah. And again, I'm not speaking one side or another. An Australian band can capture the feeling of that time and place in America. 100%, Boar. Yeah. Well, and I think that kind of goes to show that the Old West carries interest to the world around, not necessarily just... And not to say, like, America is, like, you know, the center of the universe, because it certainly is not, right? Like, we're all the center of the universe in our own brains. But we're also all incredibly insignificant. But... I guess the thing that really stands out to me here is that they're really singing about evils on both sides. Like, who is more right? The natives for attacking people and taking and raising a child, or the Americans for attacking the natives and then capturing a white child? Like, none of that is justifiable. No. Now, you grow to really, again, appreciate who Eyes Like the Sky is, I think, but it's not. None of this is happy. Like none of this is, like. I mean, honestly, it's kind of brutal. Yeah. And I think as far as the musicianship goes, having all of the narration stuff, especially with that feeling of, you know, what sounds to be an Old West voice, or what we would all have the impression of an Old West voice to be, goes a long way. Let's not forget how many classic Westerns were made by Italians. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Again, it's one of those things where the Old West does carry a huge interest to people, but I think it's almost, in essence, like an interest of morbidity, if that makes any sense. Because really terrible stuff happened in that time period, right? Like, I've described before, like, the concept of watching a train wreck and not being able to look away, and I think in this context, the Old West is a train wreck. You know, that, like, the world around has been fascinated with because it was lawless. Yeah. You know? And done in the name of God in many times. And I say that with quotations, but... Yeah. What is up? Life is short, Evolve. Fantastic to have you by. Guys, we have 18 seconds left for this ad break.
I like that. Life is short.
Evolve. Yeah, 100%. Honestly, some of them have really hilarious names.
There's someone in mind called... I can't say it. Never mind. I
had somebody recently named Huge Ball Sax, like a saxophone. Yeah. So it was Huge Ball Sax. I was like, he probably plays saxophone at wedding venues or something. Or
he's a ballroom.
Yeah, like, but Huge Ball Sax, just, I lost it. I laughed about it after the stream.
Everybody in where I'm at are saying, F you, Satan.
Hey. I mean, Satan does suck.
He does suck, yeah.
All right, so chapter 3.
Chapter 3. The Americans took the trussed-up boy to a place called Fort Whipple,
which is so close.
A fly-blown group of tents surrounded by a stone and timber stockade. An American called Willis was the boss there, and he glared at the man of God as he entered with his captives. He noticed the boy when he was brought in with a few Yavapai girls, and he looked into the color of his eyes. What do you make of him? He asked the God-man. He may be the young O'Brien boy who was lost here years ago, or he could be from the Jepson party who never made it to New Mexico, said the God-man back.
The God-man.
They named the boy Jepson O'Brien, but the natives and the frontiersmen called him Blue. Because of his eyes, but also because of the baleful and most sad expression he carried on his face. Expression of someone who kills with compassion, but not mercy.
Is that not like, that's so, that hit me so hard. Thinking about being in that guy's position and, you know, would effing Satan be a sin or an act of charity?
Although he was still a boy, the men mostly kept away from him. All except for one. A trapper who understood his skills and in return fed him and taught him the white man's way. In a short while he could speak and read and write their language. And he also added the calm, fast dignity of the gunman to his arsenal.
The calm, fast dignity of a gunman. So, all of the men stay away from him. Yeah, exactly. I'm your Huckleberry. But all of the guys stay away from him, except for one guy who's clear, like a trapper. So he's like the one catching food for the village, you know?
Yep.
And like, hey, this kid's clearly got skills. He was raised by the Yavapai. And yeah, dude. The idea, it like teaches him to read and write, and then the fast dignity of a gunman to his arsenal. What a cool way to say that.
Like Johnny Ringo.
The deadliest pistolier.
It looks like someone's
He was so fast that men treated him with care. But he was slow to anger and when angry, swift and final in his reply. In the Arizona desert in the 1860s, he had every skill that you needed to survive. And he was just 17.
You remember that movie, The Revenant, with Leonardo DiCaprio when he fought the bear?
Yeah.
It's kind of what makes me think of that. Like, this kid, 17 years old, is more manly than probably either of us. You know what I mean? What's up, Feather Girl? I mean, yeah, I would say you're significantly more manly than I am, conventionally speaking.
Just because I'm older.
Well, I mean, you know.
Comes with age.
I'm smart enough to build a cabinet, but you just can build a cabinet. Does that make sense? Yeah, like, you've got more of the... I mean, you're more of a rugged man in that context. Yeah.
I got blisters on my hand.
You have blisters on your... You got blisters on your fingers! Yeah. But to think that 17-year-old kid, in reality, is probably a more man than either of us would ever be combined.
Well, with what he's been through.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The God-man's goat lust. This is where it really hits.
How many chapters?
I think
Chapter 4.
Yeah.
The God-man with the Bible was in a back room of the chapel at Fort Whipple.
This discordant sound?
Deeply engrossed in satisfying his goat lust with a Yavapai girl. She never said a damn thing, but just leaned over an altar while he defiled her. He held a pistol to her head as he grunted away, and when it was finished, he shoved her towards the outside door. The God-man never got to fixing his long johns or his black trousers. The young man named Blue strode softly up behind him and drove a long-bladed knife into his neck.
Into the
like, after all of that stuff that's happened, he walks in and catches the priest, like, sexually assaulting a Yavapai girl.
But not the blood of the Christ. Just the blood of the God-man.
I got so uncomfortable at the idea of a priest doing that to a Yavapai girl.
That's a reality.
It's such a reality, and it's so angering.
What do you do if you're a dad and one of those girls?
That I can't even begin to comprehend, you know. And again, that this happens by a man representing, a man in the cloth.
The God-man.
And the music that they make creates a disgustingly tense atmosphere. So much discordance
You feel
there.
your blood pressure
And you can see it happening in the scene.
Yeah.
And if it's just somebody reading, you don't have that, I don't think, in the same way.
No. And I think the music the verbiage.
For sure.
As far as
But a dope bass line.
A young man named Blue took the Yavapai girl, money, guns, and food, 2 strong horses, and rode into the desert away from Fort Whipple.
We live so close to Fort Whipple.
The God-man's body was found, but he was not missed.
It says a lot that he wasn't missed. I also love that this 17-year-old kid just comes in and addresses the business, like, right there. Does not think about it, just blah. But this is the toughest song I would say to listen to of any of the Giz songs, just because it's such a real, in-your-face thing.
Indians lying on Dawn's highway bleeding.
Is that the
Angels crowd? Oh wait, I don't remember.
That's the American Prayer. Yeah.
But they have Riders on the Storm on that, and it has kind of like a precursor to Riders on the Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Indian, Indian, what did you die for? The Indian says nothing at all.
Dang, I didn't. We should revisit that album. It's probably been since I was like 15 that you showed it to me, and I probably have not listened to it since then.
Yeah.
But I don't think at that time I was necessarily equipped to have understood it either. You know, I hadn't necessarily figured out that I had an open mind. I was still kind of figuring out like what it was to be a musician at that time, and you know, I wanted to play songs with chords. Yeah. I didn't necessarily know how to, you know. I'd say it wasn't until I took psychedelics that I really had an understanding. Yeah, for sure.
I think they do open you up to more.
There's no doubt.
Especially spiritual.
For sure. I love
like
the ambient
triangle.
sounds. Yeah. Cowbell.
Triangle.
And you hear him pan.
Chapter 5.
So here,
For
I'll bring it
days
back.
they traveled.
You'll hear.
Yeah. I got a song that I used to listen to that you'd hear it go, a triangle go, or a pan, or water in a pan going twang, twang, back and forth.
Giz is one of the bands that does more audio panning than any other band I have ever heard. So when you listen to their music in headphones, you can find yourself bouncing.
It's in your head.
And anytime I'm doing a reaction, I try to point that out so people can kind of hear the editing, because it really is a lot of TLC to do that.
Chapter
and it's
5.
the stuff that goes on
unnoticed. Yeah,
traveled.
it makes it special.
The young man and the Yavapai girl. She told him her name, and they spoke in the language. They rode the horses until they gave out, then their throats were slit and meat was taken to eat later. No fires were lit, snake, berries, and raw jackrabbit as well to keep going. After a week, they relaxed more as they entered Apache area.
In my mind fuzz. They have an album called I'm
Like
Mind
dust
Fuzz.
devils, but they knew it was horses. They could hear shots and no more. When all was quiet a day later, they moved silently towards the killing ground. The buzzards told them the story before they got there. Dead white people, a lot of them, maybe a half dozen. Burnt wagons and arrows, but not from one tribe. Some of the arrows were different, shot hoof marks and moccasin tracks that were shaped like a white man's way of walking. Some white men had done this loosely disguised as Apache.
I like the little kind of like the war call kind of whining or getting ready to sound the alarm.
Yeah, that little.
I don't even know if I can do that anymore.
That one.
I can't do it. I won't try.
That noise though.
Those noises I used to make when I was a kid.
Yeah. I also think it's very I think it's very interesting though that they're talking about this idea where white men had gone in and tried to make it look like
it was Apache.
Yeah.
This loosely disguised as Apache.
Those purple mountains also are not far from us.
I know.
Crimson Raider's never seen a buzzard before. He lives in Canada.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't have buzzards there. I didn't either. I just connected that dot. I see them all the time.
They took what they could.
You hear the mariachi guitar in the back?
Walked on. The purple mountains and red ochre earth swallowed them up, and the young man smelled his own blood as they ran, and it was a good smell. The smell of being alive.
The smell of blood is the smell of being alive.
That's pretty intense.
Is that not just a friggin' like slap you in the face? The narration here is just unbelievably good. Vultures are birds that eat dead things. They fly and catch heat waves, and they fly in circles when they think something is gonna die. They will literally go down and just pick apart dead things to bone.
Dipped sideways in a split second later.
That's another Giz song.
Shot.
People vultures.
He died for some rocks and watched as more bullets hit the girl. The young man looked at her body, and as she died, he worked out where the shots were coming from. He knew that death was going to walk among the shooters. Chapter 6.
They shot the girl.
There is one thing that a white man should never do, and that is move towards an Apache, because you will never get there. How do you catch dust in the wind? The young man saw the way they were coming by the movement of insects and birds, and he knew where to go. Like the snake, he slithered into a dry arroyo and worked behind the shots in an arc. After a while, he saw them. 3 men, 3 white men clad in skins, and they walked confidently towards the girl. The young man knew somewhere behind them another one held the horses, making 4 altogether. He moved towards that man. The killers could wait. Let them enjoy the hunt before they went under. He found the one with the horses. He was young too, and he died quietly with a surprised, indignant look on his face. The young man tied the
a swift economical dispatching of his enemies, man. They told us up front.
The young man tied the horses to a tree.
Kills with compassion but not mercy.
4 horses and equipment. At the girl's body, 2 men knelt beside her while another stood guard. The guard suddenly cried out as his head exploded in a bubble of pink spray, and he fell forward. The other 2 went to ground and nervously called out to each other. "Do you see the bastard? No, he must be close." But he wasn't. A sharp sporting rifle will reach a long way in the right hands. The young man took careful aim, and the smaller of the two men felt his right leg blasted away. The bigger, heavier man sank as far into the ground as he could make himself go. Still, he could not see where the young man was.
It's so intense.
The young man by now was astride a horse and making for a Yavapai stronghold half a day's ride away.
I feel like I have seen that and it was missing.
More guns and horses than he needed, and he knew where two white men were sitting in the desert with no water and no horses. White men dressed as Yavapai Apaches.
It's intense, huh?
The white men would be calling for their mothers and their God by evening. But the young man would be drunk on Tiswin and full of deer meat, and satisfied by their agony.
That was Eyes Like the Sky.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Broderick wrote a second part to it. He's since passed away, so that we haven't gotten the second part. But I listened to this. A lot of people said they only listened to it like once or twice. I've probably listened to this like 6 or 7 times. Yeah. It's again very much in that vein of like a movie like that we would have watched.
Tombstone.
Yeah, like just one of those Old West movies that I just couldn't help but like obsess over.
Yeah.
And again, just being here, literally living in Yavapai Apache world, and being able to relate to all of those things. Like we live near Fort Whipple. Yeah. We can drive to the Purple Mountains in 30 minutes. Yeah. You know, it's like seeing so much of that, and me being able to actively connect that, because you know I don't have like a great visual imagination, but I've seen the desert. You know, I've gone for long runs and hikes out there. I've invested a good chunk of my life now in solitude in the desert.
Yeah.
I've met many Native American people, and you know,
I worked at an Indian college.
Yeah. So when there is, you know, just something like, and again, you kind of have that imagination piece of like what it must have been like predating TV.
Yeah, it was picture shows.
Yeah, well,
but with music.
Yeah, and as far as them recreating like the spaghetti western sound,
yeah, they did good. I think they did good describing what was taking place in this too. Just the verbiage that they used to describe it, you could actually see what was happening.
Well,
I didn't really put a face to the girl,
right?
But I did Homeboy with the blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got him.
Was he Kevin Costner from Dancing?
He kind of was. Dances?
Yeah, I did. Because you said. To me, I hate to say this because it's going to be so cliche, but
stereotypical.
Because that was the only white person I've ever seen take on the role of a native. I really, you know, I couldn't help but see imagine what Kevin Costner looked like as a child, and then growing into a 17-year-old. Because again, the Dances with Wolves thing.
Yeah. So,
of the stuff you've listened to today, we listened to Eyes Like the Sky, Iron Lung, Mars for the Rich, and The Hantayumi Murder of the Universe. Which of those stuck out to you the most?
I have to remember the names on them. You have to give me the names again.
The
one right before this.
The Iron Lung, when they were in the studio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really stuck out to me. I thought that was kind of unique and original. And it brought me back to a good time.
Yeah. Where did that bring you back to?
Ambrosia.
Okay.
In the late 70s.
Okay.
Middle to late 70s.
I've never heard of Ambrosia, so I'm definitely 100% going to actually have to dig into that.
But then, this is a good Jim Morrison
kind of vibe.
Yeah. But I like it because it could be a true story.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know, but it goes into detail and probably real accounts of what happened with the Yavapai and the...
Well, something like, but not necessarily the same thing has probably happened a good many
Yeah.
times.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like we live in a world where that absolutely could 100% happen.
Yeah.
So there's definitely just an element of this
And
where...
then how it brought the God Man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Well, and again, they chop very much at the concept of the evils of religion, the evils of politics, and
I think the older I get, the more I'm more cynical about religion.
Sure.
And just from my experiences, you know, things that you go through, most of the time we make honest mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know it was going to affect somebody that way. I would have never done it, that kind of thing. But when you get to things like in the church, when something like that happens, and I know they're all humans too, but it should be above reproach.
You're a human with a different standard that you've chosen for yourself. You chose to have that faith.
Exactly.
So I think again the concept of the swift dispatching of the evils in that context was so good, but it also very much speaks into just the evils of humanity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like war on both sides, wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and this kid, this kid, Eyes Like the Sky, Miguel O'Brien, whomever the name is, lived a life of tragedy and was literally just dealing with what came his way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could argue that he shouldn't kill people.
Right.
Part of King Gizzard's name was based off Jim Morrison's nickname, the Lizard King.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that either. So
interesting.
that is actually really cool. And there's no doubt that what they do, I mean, it's coded in you know, the psychedelia of the 60s through really, like, now.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that they are innovators in the sounds that they make, you know?
Yeah.
They take this element of jam band and they throw it into, you know, psychedelia and the amount of things that they do. Like, if you listen to some of their metal albums, you'll hear, like, you know, polyrhythmic things.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard them do screaming stuff. They have that synth pop stuff. Like, you heard a little bit of Catching Smoke earlier.
Yeah.
That all the same bands,
Yeah.
you know?
They're definitely very broad and diverse.
For sure.
Yeah.
And again, it's things like this that have made them my favorite band. Like an inarguable quintessence.
And truthfully, I'd rather listen to music that tells a story.
Yeah.
I mean, hands down. I mean, I've listened to all the 70s, 80s, 60s, 50s, 90s, you know, and what resonates with me most is things that I can relate to as far as things we've been through.
You can put yourself in there.
You can put yourself in the position, yeah, and I like the story.
I
don't like that story, but
the telling of it.
Yeah.
It's a gnarly hard story.
Yeah.
But the telling of it was immaculately done.
Yeah.
I really...
I think I'm becoming more of a history buff the older I get.
You could be. I would actually say that about you, too. Yeah. Guys, well, first of all, thank you, by the way, for hanging out with me today.
I enjoyed it.
I really had a lot of fun.
It's a break from my streaming. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, and again, it's a totally different kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, this is totally different.
Well, and I mean, what is more fun? I mean, you and I have smoked a lot of pot together and separately.
Yeah.
What is more fun in you know, general than listening to music while you're burning the fern?
Yeah.
We don't burn the fern anymore.
No.
We've both, you know, changed our lives, and I like us both better for it.
Yep.
But I like that we can still sit down without having to burn the
music.
fern and listen to music, and it still means something, and
Yep.
us still be able to talk about it and like find enjoyment in it.
Yep.
You know, and I think that's again something really, really special. Like you don't have to have
It's a connection.
Yeah, you don't have to have vices to be touched by music.
No.
And I think this really, you know, exemplifies that.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for joining us. We love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the positivity you show both to me, to us, and to one another. Continue to be the best. And until we see you next, be introspective and consider the birds. And if you would like to see this guy on more stuff, let me know. What should he listen to? Love you guys.
Yeah, I need to find something.
Yeah, you don't want to have music death.
You be you.
You be you, and we'll be us.
Yep.
Love yous. Bye.